when we go into market, we go in more to understand. We go in to see how people would react to what we're offering. Firstly, we understand what they want. Then we put something out. Then we see what they react. So it's a slow process. But to be fair, what's happened is till now, we haven't had one. I don't think we've had one product or one market where we've not actually succeeded. That's the, because we don't just go out there. So why I'm saying all this is because we're going to get to EV. I'm sure you have some questions on that. But again, we're not just quickly cobbling something together and saying, bloody hell, everyone's in the market, we must be in the market. Everyone's in the market, EV motorcycles, but no one's selling motorcycles, right? No one's selling an EV motorcycle. So just to come out with a motorcycle is not, that's not our objective. But to come out with something which is really special, which from an understanding approach where we've really understood why EV. I mean, why should anyone buy an EV? There's no reason for a motorcyclist to buy an EV today because, they get such a good product out of a internal combustion engine, right? So that's the why we ask ourselves. And if it's not enough, we're not going to come out with a product, right? Only if we really take advantage of that EV and we put something out there that's path breaking, that's differentiated, that's really unique and that people lust after and say, bloody hell, this is amazing and we really want it. Only then we'll come out with the product. There's no need to come out with something just to tell people, oh, we've got an EV, but we're not able to sell it, right? So that's really how we're approaching it, and that's our consistent thinking about everything over the last many years. Last few years, and in fact, this is maybe then going over to Govind to say a few words, but I think the timing was when Govind was taking over as CEO a couple of years now, I think 2 years. And he also said, look, I don't want to just jump in and, start doing CEO stuff, whatever that is. So he says, let's take a step back and see how we need to play this and what are we doing which is right. All reflection, right? We put a big mirror in front of us, and in our case, when we put a mirror in front of us, actually it's we have methods. I won't go into it, but we actually take inputs from all of our team, all of our employees, hundreds, thousands of employees. We have an open process where we take inputs, all of that. And people weren't happy with certain things in terms of our approach. Over time, what happens is, and you guys understand this very well. We had that chat last night also. Is that when everyone keeps asking about is quarter mein kya hua, us quarter mein kya hua, companies tend to become quarterly focused, right? We are not. We're very long-term focused. But you start saying, "Acha, now that 0.1% EBITDA niche ho gaya, what do we do about that?" It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. We don't care about that, really. So we actually then internalize that. We said, look, it's not about that last, squeezing out that last 1.1% of margin. What are we really after? So we had this whole approach of rebalance, and that was about how do we, for the next decade in Royal Enfield, how do we work our company to get to what we want to? And that rebalance, one of the pillars was, growth versus profitability. So it's not just to make that extra bit of margin, but it's about how do we get really solid growth in this company and with, of course, good margins. So that whole equation is what we re-looked at, and I think we're very delighted about what the outcome was. And then we had a lot of, and you're seeing resurgent growth in Royal Enfield, new products, all of that. There was actually one, I think one of the loudest voices in the company which came out was the sustainability voice, right? Which was that, again, over years, this whole capitalism business, what happens is you become extremely commercially focused, right? As a company, and that's all. The only thing that drives most companies is just commercial. But our team, our extended team, our customers, everyone was like, dude, there's more to life than just commercial, right? So we really thought through that and how to balance our social and commercial objectives, because the environment we live in, the world we live in, the community we live in, how do we serve that better? How do we how do we become a role model? How do we evolve as a company where, in the face of global challenges and climate and all these other things, do we just go on doing what we're doing, or do we reflect and really try and change and be part of the change, right? And all of our team said, guys, you got to move in that direction. And so we really focus on our entire sustainability thinking as well, from deep within, not just as what to write in an ESG report type of thing, but it's from really deep within. Then internal combustion engine and EV. So this is the third pillar of the whole rebalance. And we make really good petrol engines and motorcycles, and we don't intend to stop doing that, and we intend to continue to invest there and continue to do great stuff. In fact, we've just started making great stuff, so we don't want to stop it all right now, So that train is going to continue as long as we can keep that train going. But on the other hand, we really believe in EV, and we really believe that EV has a space. But it's not one for one. I think that's what the discovery we've got. It's not one for one, right? It's not like you can take a petrol motorcycle and switch it around and put some batteries in and make an EV out of it. So it has to be thought ground up from where the advantage points of EV are, where the disadvantage points of EV are, which are quite a few as well, in terms of its range, in terms of weight, if you want long range, all of that. So these are all the things, but we're totally on that EV track as well, and we've got, based on this rebalance thinking, we've really invested in teams, we've really invested in, and as we do in Royal Enfield, of course, you'll see we have a very strong technical team, but equally we have an amazingly strong business and commercial team for EV, right? Because it's not just about making a shiny new product, but it's about how that fits into people's lives and how people will use it and all of that. So that's the third pillar. And the last on the rebalance approach, which Govind led thinking, and in terms of his approach also in RE as CEO, was the customer experience part, right? So while we still believe we're super premium, we've got amazing customer experience, we also did a lot of research and found that it's still a little bit fragmented, right? When customer experiences are apparel versus our bike versus our service, these are different voices, slightly different tonalities, slightly different, friction levels in all these things. So how do we make the entire consumer experience absolutely seamless while continuing to make our transactions really sharp as well, right? So it's that balance of consumer experience and frictionless transactions which we're really pushing after, and that's, so just wanted to set that backdrop of what we've been up to in the last few years, how we think, really. I think this is more about how we think and how we continue to, that's a new thinking of Royal Enfield in the coming many years. Again, we're just putting our head down, super focused. We don't do too many things. We have quite a few bikes coming out now, but that's as a result of work we've done 4 or 5 years ago, right? And this is the outcome which is coming. But it's still sharp, it's still super focused, it's still on point, on brand, just continue to enhance what we have, continue to differentiate, continue to have fun, enjoy, make sure that our customers have fun, because in the end, while it's a travel product, it's an enjoyment product as well, right? In the end, it's about having fun on your motorcycle and enjoying the experience. So if we don't have fun, they're not going to have fun. So we thought we should also have fun while doing it. and that's what we do. So over to the Chief Fun Officer, Govind Rajan, to
it's a nice title.
give his
I think as Sid was mentioning, we are fundamentally motorcyclists. If not in the conference room, where do we find that we'll be on our motorcycle saddle, we'll be riding our motorcycle somewhere, and we rather prefer that than sitting in a conference room and talking. That's what is the DNA of this company. We always thought that we should stay focused. It should be fiercely unique. As an organization, as a DNA which Siddhartha was talking about, we said we are a long-term aggressive company. We don't look at anything short-term here and now. A decade ago, that's what we thought. Where do we focus? What's the kind of a motorcycle we should make? Which is the underserved area where we can make motorcycles into this? And we created, nurtured, and we brought in the middleweight, which was just about 50,000 numbers a decade ago per annum. We grew the market. We grew the market to almost about 900,000 per year. Through our gorgeous looking, simple, authentic, easy to handle motorcycles, yet modern, which will appeal to the consumers in the middleweight. In that middleweight motorcycle segment, we actually have a market share of almost 90% in India. You know, there's one more segmentation, as Siddharth was mentioning, is about 125cc and above, which somebody call it as a PST segment. In that, our market share is as good as about 30%. It does mean every third motorcycle on the road is Royal Enfield today. So this has come over a period of time through our focus, where we thought that we should have the motorcycles which would be very fun to ride for the consumers who should enjoy. You know, over the period of time, we really grew as an organization. That's why I said we are a long-term aggressive company. We keep looking at it. As those were mentioning, every year we are slightly different. When we do a strategic planning, what we do is we start off as a process, and just sometimes we should share it with you, not that a trade secret, is we start off what's called as a challenge letter. So it actually brings in a challenge letter, and then we actually open it to the whole organization. We are on Google platform. Everybody can actually input into this. People can raise hand and then say, no, what you guys are doing is not okay. You have to change. That's the culture which we built over a period of time. And then we collate, and then we start looking at how do we build it. And that's how the growth of this organization has come in. And today we have from one platform, single product, one manufacturing unit. We have the best in class 3 manufacturing facilities in Chennai, and we manufacture almost at every 38 seconds 1 motorcycle, and we actually serve to almost about 61 countries to the consumers across the globe. Last year was one important milestone which we crossed, is about 100,000 motorcycles we exported out of India. That was a great milestone for us, because we always looked at there is a huge market potential outside, and in that area also we can actually garner quite a good market share. We entered into all those markets not by just, as Siddharth was saying, not just we go to the market and then sign up the dealership and distributor and do that. We don't do that. We actually took an approach of go to the market, open one store, let the brand be a pull brand, let people enjoy the motorcycle, let them start feeling that, wow, Royal Enfield is really making fantastic motorcycles, and that's it for me. And in that, when we entered, for a long term, we'll actually garner the market share over a period of time. Currently, we can tell you we are #1 in the middleweight in UK. And in UK, our market share in the middleweight we have crossed almost about 20%. And even in Korea, we are in the #1 position in the middleweight. We are in #2 position in Thailand, and we have taken the #3 position in Austria, France, and Italy. All these things have come because we are very focused. We said we will serve the middleweight. We will come out with gorgeous looking motorcycles which are fun to ride. Everybody should be able to relate to, and that's what is the focus, and that has really paid off very well for us. Even this year, the first quarter has been very good to us. It's been growing very well. This all we backed up over a period of time with the 2 tech centers. Today we have one tech center where we are all sitting, and we have one more tech center at UK. And we have almost about 400 people who are working in the product development area, and slew of new products which we have lined up, which you will see one after the other. Don't ask me when is it coming. It is going to come in near future. I'm sure you'll all be looking at what's next. And we are here for the Bullet launch. That's where we should enjoy now. I believe Royal Enfield is now at RE 3.0. We are a 122-year-old startup mentality company. We are an agile. We are very innovative. We have the ability to create new ideas with the team, as Siddhartha was mentioning. We have a fantastic team, which brings in that premiumness in everything we interact with onto the table, and that's why we have the gumption to actually make it happen. That's this organization, as I mentioned. That's a culture is go for it. We are a long-term aggressive company. We can be the leader across the globe in the middleweight, and by far that's what is Royal Enfield. That's what does keep us going. So hope you all will see that how we are growing and taking the leadership position across the globe in the middleweight segment. That's it from me too, and open for any questions.
Siddharth, wanted to understand, you spoke a lot about how you guys are long term, but today we live in an age where everybody's attention span is so limited, and so you have a great understanding of the consumer of today. So how are you adapting to that? How are you adapting to this? We live through outrage cycles that get born and die off in 48 hours.
Yeah. So look, our our business is intrinsically, and any automotive business is, it cannot be as, the cycle is reasonably long, right? It's 3, 4, 5 years for a product cycle, right? To develop a product, and then it's probably in the market for, I would say 10 years, maybe a bit less these days, but that's approximately the life cycle. So whatever it is, as sharp or quick or anything any company wants to be, that's just fundamental to how it is. So we have to operate within that framework, right? Of course, we can do agile engineering, and we can do certain things. We can build in certain things, which we do, into our product platforms that can allow us to come out with stuff a bit quicker, right? So, and I think that's where, to try and answer your question, that's where I think it goes, to keep that freshness which people require more of these days, rather than, let's say, what we're also here for is the bullet approach, which is the same looking product for 91 years. So, which there's an appeal in that, and there's some people who are going back to that thinking, which is about, longevity, purposeful longevity. So actually, because the bullet's been the same for 91 years, it doesn't look old, right? Because it's, it doesn't look dated, because it's always looked the same. So it looks actually fresh. So that's counterintuitive. But having said that, of course, there's a lot more we do, and there's a lot more we can do. So that's all. That's the interaction with our product strategy, industrial design, brand, product development teams to come out with fresh things, to come out with things that are more niche, to come out with, these days collaborations are big. You meet with other like-minded brands and come out with something interesting which serves both sets of customers. So yeah, I mean, we're certainly here now, in the sense we're not Luddites, we're not sitting and saying, look, and hopefully you'll get to see even in the bullet approach, when you see our communication, our product, and how we're looking at it, when you see it in the next couple of days, while we're, I believe, really, we will have stuff all the time, and we'll have new stuff to engage people and all that, yet the approach is, we are taking, and we will continue to be, a very authentic brand, right? So what we, in a world, in fact, of, you could say, nearly fleeting stuff and stuff which is non-memorable. We want to be the guys who put out stuff that's, that really touches people, that really is authentic, that's really sharp. And we believe there's a place for that even in the world today.
So that one question from my side. You spoke about EVs. You said we'll take time to develop a perfect or a commercially viable EV. So does it mean it's going to be delayed further? And also another thing, are you open to...
Delayed further means what? Yeah? It's not
take
delayed
time
in the
because
first
you said
place.
it's not unless it's proper, profitable. And second, are you open to partnerships for EV business or EV?
So firstly, it's not delayed further because there's no delay yet. So no, it's nothing like that. The point is that we're not in a desperate tearing rush. Of course, we're working really hard. So you have to understand the difference. We're working super hard, day and night. You talk to the teams; they're really at it. But we're not. But the idea is not to come out with the product quickly. The idea is to come out with an amazing product, right? So a product that will actually interest people, will change the market dynamic. So that's the idea. So firstly, there's zero delay. Our plan has always been to be out in the market in 2025 sometime. That still stands, so no delay. But if there is a delay, we'll tell you.
And partnerships, are you open to partnerships for that?
We're always open to partnerships, but we don't partner much. So in our last 20 years, we've not really partnered with anybody. We've done everything on our own, by and large. I'm talking about the internal combustion engine business. Already in EV, we do have one investment and partnership with Stark Future. And so we are working with them. But I mean, first and foremost, the investment is about the potential that we see in Stark, right? Which is amazing. We think it's a great company, great segment, and all of that. But in addition to that, it's about working together on certain things. So we are working together on that as well. So
I have a question. This whole what you were talking about, Royal Enfield 3.0. Do you see the essential organization structure of your company changing as you enter, the 3.0 stage where you are
when Siddhartha was talking about the rebalance, you talked about the pillars of the 4 different pillars with which we are working. It's on a solid foundation. Is a structure. So before we actually articulated the rebalance, what we have done is we put our head down first to say, are we having the best talents which are required inside an organization in all the areas? As he was talking about in the technical area, later on that's not enough. So it is in the marketing, brand building, outside India, what are the markets where we have to have our own team. All those things on a people related, we actually started looking at. And we started filling up the gaps wherever it was there. The second is about the company structure, if we have to talk about. We also looked at when we have to go into the market outside, there are some subsidiaries which are required, and that's when it will actually help us to penetrate into the market. That's when we can set up a CKD operations in that market to understand, invest in those markets. In the key markets, we went and then we formed our own subsidiaries, which will help. So both ways, to support the rebalance, there's a solid foundation which has all been laid, and it is a continuous process. So there is a competencies which keep requiring, for example, the software area and the EV. Now we are seriously looking at that we should add more competency into this. And that's why we said we are an agile company. We always look at it on a constant basis. How do we improve? Because that's in our DNA. We always look at it. Oh, that's the fantastic experience which we have to give it to the consumer. And for that, there is something which is missing within us. Let's build.
What stage is it now, the EV development? Have you finalized the battery technology, vendors, suppliers? What could you give us an update on that? I'm sure you're working on the product platform, but on the
we have various EVs in different stages of development, so it's not like there's one, but the most advanced one we've all written. So we've all written it in proper, like, what do you call it? It's a prototype form, or even ahead of prototype form. In a lot of it is actually parts that are from production, or so we're writing it. But like I said, it's still 24 months out, just because we're still going to take that time to refine it, to improve it, to change it, to do crazy amount of testing, validation, all sorts of stuff. But we're actually writing them like proper build electric motorcycles, but they're not ready yet. Not for prime time.
What about the supply chain industry? Is it being established, or how's it?
No, supply chain, it's, for the electric, some of the things are yet you have to import, especially like battery cells and all those things. And remaining major aggregates, what we are doing is we are designing. We actually signed up with the supply chain partners who are working. We also have some of the suppliers who are working here, the co-shared and code development process. That's why I'm saying the process with which we are adopting is a dedicated team in an EV, and aggressively started looking at a point of time you will really see that we will come out with a very differentiated, gorgeous looking electric motor vehicle.
With high level of localization, right?
To an extent where the supply chain is matured, yes.
Well, look, all non-powertrain parts as good as
all the chassis parts, the vehicle parts which are there, and those are all the things where we will actually be doing it in India. Where the supply chain is matured, where the technology is matured, in that area we will do that in the localization. Where the technology is yet to mature in India, which is available somewhere else, we are working with them in importing it and then doing it.
How many suppliers you have brought in so far?
So for the vehicle area, if in case I have to talk about, all the suppliers are almost
talk about the EV part.
On the EV, there are almost about 11, 12 new suppliers have been brought in, and we are continuously evaluating more.
But ICE isn't going anywhere, right? ICE is staying. I mean, and I'm seeing this across the world.
We love petrol bikes. So there's no, as long as you can, and as long as
we feel
but,
bad.
but I mean, looking at the rest of the world, looking at not just India, also the commuter segment might move electric. But you think at least in the enthusiast, in the passionate riding segment,
honestly, it's not about consumers, because I think if consumers had a choice, internal combustion engine will continue for a very long time to come. You can't say how long, but certainly for the foreseeable future, decades. It's regulatory driven, right? All of the more of the shift which is being talked about right now is more regulatory. So if regulation, doesn't, if there's no issue, then I think internal combustion engine will continue for, let's say again, like you said, longer distance, or let's say bikes for decades to come, I would say.
We have a question.
Yeah. Siddharth, you pretty much said what you've been saying, and I think consistency is good to hear. Less is more, focused approach. I want to know now, as you are the leader, you've proven it. I mean, what you've said, you stuck to it. You've got what you've aspired for. The other players now, and you did mention the competition. Well, you said you're in many ways not comparable to them, but everyone now understands that the mid-size market obviously is the mainstream. That's going to be. You are already a leader, but the pie will get.
Not a leader, the leader.
So the players who are now coming in, trying to grab a bite in that pie. To continue to protect it, to set out newer goals, because see, you are clearly leading, and where do you see yourself going and making sure that you continue to be leader? So what are your next targets? Like, what do you see, and how do you see this motorcycle world evolving, or the two-wheeler world evolving, both for India and international?
So firstly, because we've, as Govind said earlier, we've grown the market for mid-size motorcycles from less than 50,000 units, which was also ours only, 50,000 units, maybe over a decade ago, to nearly 1 million units, give or take in India. I mean, a bit less than that, but in that order of magnitude. And we've grown the India market, right, by and large. Now we're getting another market. So it's the India market that obviously other competitors are also saying, yeah, bhai, we also want to get into here, this market and all that. And to be fair, they've been trying for the entire decade, right? So everyone's come in, first shot, second shot, third time, whatever. So So our objective here in India is actually that we're seeing this as a opportunity to further grow the market, right? So we've been able to grow it ourselves to, let's say, in the order of 1 million units a year, with the help of others who fuel the, let's say, the opportunities, options in the market. It will grow maybe over 2x the speed of the regular market, right? Of the non-mid-size or the lower size market. We expect it to grow over 2x, and when you compound that 2x growth over 10 years, it can be gigantic. It can be 2, 3, 4 million motorcycles. I don't know how much, but I'm saying even over the next 5 years, it could double the size of this market. And like we said, we have, I believe other people come in more product-centric. So we made a nice new bike or something like that, and let's try and sell that. But that's what it is. Let's try and sell that, right? They've not, or let's say, what we've been able to establish is what I talked about earlier. I won't repeat all of that. Is the entire value chain, the premium, the way we do things. I mean, hopefully you guys also see how we do communication and events and our distribution, our stores, our service, our everything. It's totally different, right? So consumers see that. Consumers see, okay, maybe there's a product there which is interesting, but they have nothing else, right? And community and everything else. Entire ecosystem. So, and even then, the breadth and range of product that we now have in mid-size is, we have, very wide range. And like I said, we're just getting started. We have more and more and more coming, and we're pretty good at anticipating and where the market will go. Not about competitors, that's not our concern as much, but where the market will go. And we've got some really interesting things coming. So, sure, there's always going to be chaps trying to jump in, but we certainly. So one is grow the Indian market. The second is we're going to markets outside which are pretty virgin for us, right? We've not been there. As Govind said, we've got number one. Our objective was to get into mid-size space in all these markets and to start, and that's what we're doing. We've become number 3, number 2, number 1 in mid-size space in a lot of these markets, and that's the direction we're going. We're not going to be everywhere in the world, but the markets that we choose to enter, we're going to be strong in, and we're already heading there. And those are all new growth opportunities for us because we started, relatively from scratch in a lot of these markets over the last 5-7 years.
On the distribution front, do you plan to set up separate dealerships, or will there be existing showrooms that you will look to use to sell these vehicles? Separate company, perhaps? What's the plan?
Evaluating all the options at this stage, because as we have time to go to the market, we are evaluating all the options. Nothing should be left unthought to. So, and we're a company, we normally take time to think through that, go through it more and more. There is time for it before we actually say, yes, this is the route which we will take.
Yeah, we're working on all options. The good thing is we have a very strong distribution, so that's always available. We may have other alternative ideas as well, which will be evaluated.
Yep.
So we also have recently, got Chief Growth Officer is the title, but basically heading the entire EV business and commercial side. We've got Mario Albisi, who's joined us. He's got an amazing track record and is a stellar fellow. So he's now, we're all working together to lead the entire commercial thought, right? Of
will you look to raise money for the EV business going forward?
we have so much money, why would we raise money?
He's new growth officer, you were saying.
I mean, basically that's a title, but his job is because all the new growth segments are EV, right? So let's say other than existing. So yeah, that's his title. But basically, he's in for EV business, the business side of it and the commercial side of it.
You were trying
How
to
much
steam
money
customers.
or investments have been made in the EV business so far, and how much do you envisage will be done?
Okay, so I will just add it like this. We have applied for PLI between Royal Enfield and Eicher, commercial vehicle. We joined together and we applied for the PLI. And you know, for the PLI, the minimum investment which is required is almost what, 2,000 crores?
Yeah.
So that's an investment which we have anyway applied for, and then it does mean that we have to invest in that. That's why we have applied for.
Siddharth, going forward, with EV front, is it going to be a launch in India first, or it's based?
We can't say right now. It's too early to say.
With intensifying competition in the segment, particularly 350cc, would you have pressures on the pricing pressures going forward, and would you have a limited ability to carry premiumness for your product pricing? How do you see the margins, trend of the margin front?
See, there is a scale with us. So the difference between others and us is building a scale. We built a scale over a period of time, and we don't work on different platforms. We work on very limited platforms. We have our 350cc super refined J series engine. That's one platform, and which has almost a scale of as good as about 800,000 numbers. And we have the twins platform, which is the 650cc. We have as good as about 100,000 scale, which is available, which nobody else has. And it really helps us to keep our cost. And the premiumness which we have been talking about, it is not, premium is always not costly. It is the way you represent, the way you take it to the consumer, and that's where we bring in the difference in that.
How is the Hunter?
Can you talk a little bit about the scale that you're just talking about? Going forward, what kind of scale are you looking at? You're already very close to 1 million. What is the next? You're going to.
So that was just saying. So the middleweight from nowhere, we were about 50,000 to,
You were just talking about doubling.
Yeah,
so,
that's how the market is going. As you was mentioning, at 50,000 when we were making in 2010-11, and at that point of time, somebody asked us, what's this market size? Probably we would have said that, maybe if in case we double it in 2 years, probably we'll be happy and we are arrived in life. But as I mentioned, we are a long-term aggressive company. We keep looking at spots, how is that growing, and keep working on new products. And as he was mentioning, it takes about 4 years. So if the market has to be grown, then you have to think about it 4 years ahead and start looking at. So today, we have a slew of new products which are lined up in the petrol cycles, and all those things are going to come. It's with the belief that the market is going to grow, and that's where we are also investing in this. So
I'm talking about actually capacity also, not just the product side of it, but expanding the.
That Govind will tell you. Just to add one small bit there, because so of course in our J series we have 50, 60, 70,000 more than that a month. So that's way into scale manufacturing. Every new platform that we come up with, I think the sweet spot is to get the kind of benefits of scale is in the order of around 10,000 a month. Anything much below that, so if you're doing 1, 2, 3,000 a month on a full new platform, you're never going to get the economies of scale and the whole. It's not just economies of scale from a cost perspective, but it's also from the kind of suppliers you get. It's the kind of technology you get access to, sustainability. But it's also the in the field, you need a certain volume to get. Then you have to keep parts everywhere. You have to have mechanics, you have to have understanding of the bike. So that's the sweet spot, right? 10,000 a month is what we go for minimum in every platform that we're developing. Nothing less than that. But on capacity front,
as of now,
right
we have capacity on a two-shift basis. As I always mentioned earlier, also in the record, it's almost about 1.2 million motorcycles which we can make. But as capacity is in an imagination. You can actually increase the capacity by different ways. So every time we always look at it, what's the make versus buy, what is that we have to focus inside, and how do we actually make outside, can an ecosystem be developed in such a way the overall capacity is enhanced. So in the near future, to be honestly saying, we are not investing heavily on the capacity enhancement. Having said, as over the period of time, we also crack the code of modularly increasing, and wherever it is required, we can increase it. What takes a longer period of time, which we have to be prepared. That's why, as Siddhartha was mentioning, we anticipate ahead and then start looking for a place and then buying it, doing it, that takes time. So we also have secured another about 60 acres of land at Cheyyar, which is also available for us, which we can keep expanding whenever it is required. So we normally look at it like this as a module, keep working on it, keep visiting it once in a quarter about make versus buy, and take a decision every year.
Yeah.
And that's why capacity can be augmented at any point of time, whenever it is required.
Siddhartha, you said some bikes, quite a few bikes are coming. I mean, you can put a number to that.
Not few.
So,
You got some. You got something coming up this year, which we've already sort of
Is
started
it
working
one-
on. And then, of course, I mean, I don't even honestly, I can't even back. I don't even know how many we're coming out with next year. Yet.
He's just passing on to me, even I'm not going to say that
We have pretty much come to, accept that middleweight starts at 350 cc, right, because of your company in India. And therefore you said that will perhaps go at 2x in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, if you were to take the total number of bikes sold between 100 cc in the last 10 years, it opens up a dramatically big market for you. Would you sort of lower your 350 to 250 in the middleweight and therefore sort of expand your market much bigger?
There's nothing stopping us. I mean, physically, but it's really a question of does it make sense, and
Is something on the anvil?
that I can't do.
You mentioned, Siddharth, you mentioned about the overseas thing. You have already crossed 1 lakh mark, but you also mentioned that you are not going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
So just wanted to understand what's your overseas goals like. Will you the countries that you are currently focusing on, like UK, Korea, and will you continue that? Just a roadmap on
Oh,
overseas
yeah.
goals.
So look, all the countries we're in, we're going to continue and strengthen those countries, but we're going to be picky about getting into new geographies, just because we don't want to spread ourselves too thin also, right? And we want to go where the potential is. So for us, the way we look at it, the potential for growth, that means numbers, units, is in, we used to say is in developing markets, but we're also selling great numbers in developed countries as well. But in developing markets, the long-term potential of growth, because of the big base of commuter bikes like India, will still be higher in the long term, right? So in Latin America, Southeast Asia type of markets, which are also prosperous markets, right? So that's one. And where we get, great volumes, great visibility, brand and margins is the Western markets, right? So those intrinsically make a lot of sense to us to continue to invest and grow in Europe, in US, in Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah. And we also take market development very seriously, and so we do a lot of work in every market that we're in terms of consumer connect, engagement with the community, engagement even, with CKD facilities, local technology, all of those kind of things. So, then it is a commitment to that particular market. So we do take that seriously.
Would you set up more CKDs going forward? Currently you have about 4 or 5, right?
We have about 5 CKDs. Setting up of CKD is not a hobby, so obviously that's not what we are looking at. In a country where it is required, because local content extent which is required in the CKD facility is a must to be in that country, and we see a potential in that market where the consumer also believes that yes, Royal Enfield type of a motorcycle which is required. Long term we see a potential, then in that country we will start looking at. As of now, we have about 5 CKD planned.
But is there a volume benchmark you have for CKDs or?
No. Every investment where it has to have an ROI, we are a very high governance company. So we take it to the board and then we present it to the board based on the board clearance. If there is a business case, we take it to the board and clear it. Based on that, we'll set up.
But we'd also much rather, most of the time, it makes much more sense for us to ship full bikes, right, from here, from Chennai. Just fully packed, go straight to the dealer, you can open it up, within 10 minutes it's available for sale, because we've really sorted that out. So for us, it's much better to send full bikes from here. Typically, it's where there's a lot of tax saving from CKDs, where we will
And the local content.
Local content requirement. Yeah.
How has the Hunter been for you in terms of growing the market? I mean, the sales numbers for the Hunter have been spectacular. I'm seeing guys climbing up from commuter to the Hunter? Because is the middleweight now competing with the commuter segment thanks to products like the Hunter?
I wouldn't say competing. I mean, one, Hunter has done fabulously for us, as you've seen the numbers. It's I think we crossed 2 lakh units,
Yes. Yeah.
And growing, and it is a great fun product, and we're all enjoying riding it ourselves, and it does exactly what it's meant to do. It's not competing with the commuter market, but it's giving less friction for commuters to move up, right? So it is exactly as intended. So we have when we did all the research many years ago, and the consumer understanding, a lot of people, obviously there's a lot of people who love our Bullet, which is very classic, Thunderbird, which became, and then we had the Meteor to replace it. They love those bikes. But there was also a lot of chaps who loved the brand Royal Enfield, but that form factor of a Classic or Bullet or Meteor didn't appeal to them. Fair enough, because they want something which feels a bit more nimble, looks a little bit more modern, and that's where those are the consumers who like Royal Enfield but didn't like anything in our portfolio, and that's what Hunter's appealing to, and that's the customer who's coming.
Is it a younger customer buying the Hunter?
Yes.
Yeah.
The average age of the Hunter consumers are almost about 24, 25.
Compared to?
About 27 to 30 range.
And we're also seeing a large segment who are first-time bike buyers who are straight away buying the Hunter.
Before you go, Sharmishta, you should please go ahead, and Vikram also had a question. May I just say that we have 10 minutes before we close.
Okay. Yes,
so, you said that sustainability has emerged as a focus area post the feedback you've taken. Now, EV motorcycle is 2 years away, and it seems that electrification overall in the motorcycle segment will take time. So, are there any other technologies also you're exploring to, if regulations go such that you have to move to clean mobility in the motorcycle segment? Are there other options in hand?
I mean, there's always options. We're not closed on any options. We are working on different things. Those are not as advanced as EV. So from a technology standpoint, of course, EV is more advanced now in Royal Enfield and in the world in terms of access, availability, tech, components, manufacturers, suppliers, all of that. So, but there will be potentially other technologies. So we're not closing our eyes, and we're certainly working on them in advanced engineering teams and all of that as well. But the sustainability idea is well beyond that also. So it's got to do with our footprint, our plants. We've been working very hard. I think we're water positive in all of our plants now. We've dramatically reduced our CO2 output per vehicle in all of our plants, and we continue to do that. Other contaminants, so that's in the plant scale. Then we're expanding that to our suppliers and our dealers in terms of their operations and greener business operations. We have targets on all the different fronts of whether it's CO2 or water or other contaminants. And then beyond that, it applies to other geographies, like we're doing a lot of work up in the Himalayas where our riders go, so we're finding ways to make one, our footprint less, second, to improve the conditions there a lot more, and in various other parts of India as well.
Just curious what other technology that you're talking about.
They're in advanced engineering mode. So,
what can be done?
Lots more can be done. There's not just one solution, honestly. So yeah, it's all in our advanced engineering department.
How much has your R&D spend gone up, Siddhartha, in the last maybe 3 years or something?
It's gone up substantially, also because we have parallel tracks. So we continue with the ICE, and we have EV on a parallel track.
So And also, I think we
Yeah.
don't necessarily, our R&D spend is not necessarily a function saying, this is the amount that we will spend on R&D. It's very much a function of projects but I think by and large we tend to keep it at a percentage of revenue. So as our revenue goes up, our R&D spend is also kind of going up.
It's more of application R&D
Yeah.
than basic R&D.
Yeah, we don't do
Yeah.
research per se.
How will you replicate the thumb in the EV era? Because that is asset of the Royal Enfield. A silent bullet may not appeal to a lot of people.
Silent bullet.
Or after that, can you replicate?
No, we can do whatever you want, but we won't. We will. The thing is, what does the thumb represent, or the sound is that it's something unique. It's something actually calming in a sense because it's got a rhythm, all of that. But we don't want to do anything which is fake, right? Because authenticity is even more important to us than the thumb, I would say. So what we're we see EV for what it is and what it offers. So that gives us the drive to say that, look, as unique as our sound is, as unique as our look is in internal combustion engines or in ICE motorcycles, we want that much uniqueness in our EV motorcycles. As far as sound is concerned, we're looking at different ideas in terms of sound engineering, in terms of enhancing maybe EV sound, maybe playing it out differently, but certainly the idea is not to have a speaker there which gets none of that. I will show you that song now. Yeah, please.
You talked about that it's ahead of the prototype form right now. So what is that sort of form? Is it a city bike, a racing car?
I can't tell.
No.
That's.
But Siddhartha, you stick to your core DNA of motorcycles only even for EV, because in India, for instance, the segment that is booming is something else. As you said rightly, electric motorcycles is not the segment that has gotten any kind of bulge bracket at all. So is that something that you'll stick to? This is my core DNA. I do only motorcycles and nothing else.
So look, for now that's our thinking. I mean, we never say never, right? But currently we believe. Look, as long as we believe there's opportunity in motorcycles, we continue to pursue motorcycles, right? If tomorrow, for some reason, for example, like you're saying that, let's say 99% of the market shifts away from motorcycles, then of course we'll have to think about it. I'm not saying 99, it could be 90 also. But yeah, for now we do believe that there's enormous opportunity in motorcycles. We just believe that it's not being served properly. There's the right product, the right ecosystem, environment, infrastructure is not there for people to enjoy an electric motorcycle. So yes, absolutely our product portfolio currently is all EV motorcycles.
What is the handicap largely in an electric motorcycle? Because in scooters or in cars, we have seen that EVs, there is a definite uptick in performance. Torque is higher.
Instant torque, all of that, yeah.
The feeling is much better. But in a motorcycle, I get a sense that there is not as much gap in an electric motorcycle versus a very advanced ICE motorcycle.
You get a lot of. The response, the torque, it's all very strong on an EV, no question. The cost, weight, range, that's the axis which is not fully working right now for EV, right? Because if you want range, you've got to add more batteries, which means it's heavier, which makes the bike shit and costly, right? You don't want to, in a car you can disguise weight, right? These current cars are bloody heavy, like 2.5 tons or something. These cars are ridiculously heavy because they're carrying all these batteries, right? But on a motorcycle, you can't carry so much battery, right? It just feels, you can't carry so much weight. So it's the weight and the cost and the packaging. If you want to have a lot of range, like in a car, you have a lot of space under the, whatever, floor and all of that. You can put batteries anywhere you want, really. There's a lot of space. Here you don't want like this big fat battery pack, which is really heavy and really expensive. So you can't. So it's a range issue actually.
Siddhartha, if you could just give your word on UCE, that was the backbone of the last decade for Royal Enfield.
What can I say? Well, what I can say is that the UCE has been. I mean, I said last night the Bullet, but equally it's the UCE which has been responsible for bringing Royal Enfield to where it is, right? I mean, it's brought us from nearly the dark ages till to a global successful company. It's been that one sort of platform that we built, which has brought us everything, really, right? Yeah, everything. So, yeah, it's a
lot of teething problems also, but you could overcome all those, right?
Well, now it's UC is over now.
Last UC, when was it made?
I don't know.
Last UC?
Is it still being made? No.
Bullet?
It's
done.
It's done.
Day after tomorrow, we are bringing you the new Bullet.
For all markets everywhere, it's all stopped now.
A bit about the Bullet today. We haven't spoken about the Bullet. Speaking about EVs, I mean, you spoke last night about how important the brand is to Wari, and you're still known as the Bullet company, right? So, why bring back the Bullet? Why was it so important to bring back the name?
Yeah. In fact, to your point, I mean, when we both started our journey, which is similar time frame to be honest, it was Bullet was Enfield and Enfield was Bullet. It wasn't even Royal Enfield in those days, and they were interchangeable. And you know, the Bullet is the sort of has always been Royal Enfield's true north. It's always been our one thing that is constant in a. You know, we decided to take Royal Enfield much broader and around across. You know, broader means within mid-size space, but you know, with different products. We had Himalayan, Continental GT, Interceptor, Meteor, all sorts of different products which come under Royal Enfield umbrella. But Bullet is always Bullet, right? And that's what people wanted. We didn't want to, you know, destroy what was so dear to people, and we wanted to keep that constant. So really, today and next couple of days for us is an ode to that which brought us here, the steadfast Bullet, which is unwavering, which is, you know, absolutely resilient, and it's been around for over 90 years. So, you know, it's, for us, it's the most iconic brand in our portfolio. It's, you know, it's a flagship, really it is the flagship model of Royal Enfield, because that's what people know us as. So really, yeah, that's a tribute back to the Bullet. That's why we're bringing the new Bullet out, so that, you know, we can continue that legacy for a century, you know, of Bullets.
What is the sales share of your particular models?
Oh, I don't know if I can.
We can send it to you.
Yeah, just one last question. I know you addressed this on the investor call, but your competition in the 250 to 750 cc space, you said you'd be happy holding on to the 80 to 85% market share. Are you still confident of doing that, or do you see more challenges as you move forward?
Look, that's in the long term. I think right now we're still above 90% market share, and we're not actively ceding market share. But I mean, to be really honest to ourselves also, you know, if you're, what are we, 93% or something? 90 plus?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the number also, but if you're 90 plus, honestly, there's only one way direction that's going to go in, right? So that's just being honest to ourselves, so that we don't kick ourselves too hard if, you know, we come down to 89% and we get really upset about it. No, we won't get really upset about it. But it's really driven us a lot to say, bloody hell, let's grow the size of this market, right? Even more. So that's interesting to us, right? Because honestly, we're not, I mean, we take our competition very seriously, but we take our customers much more seriously, and we're much more interested in the customers than in competition, in serving our customers well, doing something really good for them. Competition comes and goes, and yeah, but it gives us a little bit of boost to say, okay, look, let's really grow this market and capture more from below, right? And like I was saying, in Hunter, that's exactly what we're doing, and it's only been a year of Hunter, right?
August 2 now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's only been 1 year of Hunter, and typically, we should continue to invest and grow, brands like the Hunter, not just the Hunter, I'm saying, and resurgent Bullet, which is back, and hopefully you'll see today, tomorrow, how it'll touch people's hearts, and bring all the memories of generations of Bullet owners back to the fore.
Just a word on the globalization plan as well. Crossing 100,000 is a significant number, and probably just getting started. So what's the kind of potential that you see in the international markets, and what kind of scale that you can reach globally as well, as you gain more market share in advanced markets?
Addressable market, Ketan, outside India, middleweight, which is also almost about 1 million motorcycles. So from nowhere, today we gained the market share of almost about 8% in North America.
8% in North America?
Yes.
In middleweight.
In middleweight. And we are almost about 9.1% in the APAC region, middleweight I'm just talking about. So slowly we are gaining market share, and we have almost about 1,157, if I'm right on the exact number, of the retail outlets. Whereas in India, if you actually look at a country like India, we have almost about 2,100 premium retail outlets which we have. So there's a huge potential to reach to the market, expand the market, entering into the new market. So our serious play has started in the international market, though we have been exporting for almost a decade. Our serious international play has started only for the past 2-3 years, primarily because the super refined J series engine, which was not exportable at a point of time because it was not Euro compliant.
Yeah.
So when we were designing the platform J, we really thought that it should be a global platform, and that's how it is Euro 5 compliant. So we are just taking that into the market now, one by one. We are developing the market, we are building the community in those markets. So the happy note is when we went to Europe and we said that we wanted to have a rider club there, and about 18,000 people, we immediately signed up to that in that particular area. So there is a community which really loves us, and that's where the focus is. Let's build the community outside India. Market share will follow. And as I said, we are a long-term aggressive company. We don't look at anything here and now this year. If that's what it has to be there, is there a tactics to get the number? Of course we can get it, but we will not do that.
When are you launching Super Meteor 650 in APAC and other markets?
It's APAC is done. Now we are looking at North America.
So that
market
ensure that you don't see much market share. What are all the improvements do you think you need to do?
So we're not that obsessed about market share. So it's not about that. We need to continue to improve always, and it's really about continuing to build. I talked about that. It's just the entire consumer experience, right? So while we are, I believe, by far head and shoulders above anyone else in India in terms of a premium consumer experience, we believe there's space for us to much further improve there, and also to take that across the world, right? Because in India, but also actually interestingly enough, everywhere else in the world, the experience of buying and owning. So it's not just about buying; it's about owning a motorcycle. The experience of owning a mid-sized motorcycle is very mediocre around the world. So when we go around, we go to markets in the US. I've been recently in Europe. We go to Brazil, and all these people. It's the ownership experience is just very, let's say, hands off. There's no interest from the manufacturers. It's it's transactional, very transactional, as I think we said. So what we want to make it is much more fulfilling, and there are, so therefore we have to look outside category, right? Because within motorcycling category, it's not very strong. So we want to look outside the category and become, absolute sharp and forward on those fronts. So that's one. Continuing to build extremely high level of refinement in our motorcycles, because now we're not even talking about quality anymore. We're absolutely up there in terms of global benchmarking quality terms. So now it's about just further refinement. So every part you touch on the bike, every little response of the throttle, of the brake, of every aspect, the finish, the shine, everything. So when the physical product experience, the retail experience, the in-use consumer experience, all of them are at that level. That's what we're going after, and nobody thinks like that, in my opinion.
The accessorization and merchandise.
Very much part of it.
Yeah, it must be a big already, right?
It is growing. It's growing very well.
It's growing, but we always come from the perspective of how do we add to the overall experience of the consumer and the ride and motorcycling experience. It's not about selling another T-shirt, right? That of course it'll do, but does it make people, does it enhance the experience? Does it give them joy? So other than, in fact, it's happened to say T-shirt, other than T-shirts which are, but most of our other apparel, for example, we're saying, look, where's the motorcycle element, which even T-shirts, what we do, if you notice, mostly, and that's going to happen more and more, even the T-shirt, even the Royal Enfield at the back will be reflective. Why? Because if the guy is only wearing a T-shirt, which we don't recommend to ride a bike, you should wear you should wear some protective gear. At least at night, visibility will be there. So in every aspect, we are adding motorcycling elements so that better visibility, better protection, better safety, better comfort. So and therefore our accessories, for example, from before we put pen on paper for the motorcycle, let's say for a new motorcycle, the entire accessories plan is done. The fitting of the accessories, all the testing and validation we're doing for years and years is with accessories on, so that last minute you say, "Acha bhai, now bolt this on," and now it's it's not working properly. All of that. So we're really taking it very, very seriously.
On that
note, very serious
and
note.
you will meet both of them in the evening again. So anything that you want, but thank you very much. I believe this time good spent.
Thank you all so much, and please enjoy your ride.
2%.
And don't lift all the covers that we've.